Hello everyone, my name is Dustin with Mars Hill Technology, and this is week 2 of 4 of Know Your Marketplace. We're going to be discussing how to look and spot pickpocketers when you're online shopping today. So what's the big idea? Well, not every hand at the market wants to actually help you shop. Most online shops are completely fine, but a small number of fake stalls exist purely to catch people moving fast. Today we're going to slow down just enough to spot them. We're going to be discussing how a too good deal is bait and not luck. We'll talk about how fake stores exist for exactly as long as it takes to get caught, and then they vanish and reopen in their new name. We'll talk about how the right payment method is your best insurance policy and it costs nothing extra. It's good to consider this for today's lesson, and that's you don't need to distrust every seller. You just need just a handful of tells that give away a fake one. And that's exactly what we're going to be discussing today, how to identify these. So these are the 6 stops through our bazaar today. And our stop here for number 1 is actually looking at a real store versus a pop-up or a fake store. We're going to be looking at spotting a copycat storefront before you actually check out. We'll be looking at those too good of deals, why the price itself is often a tell on those too good to be true deals when you're online. We'll talk about reading reviews the right way, telling real reviews from planted ones on websites. We'll talk about paying the safe way, and that's with using your credit card and protected checkouts versus wire transfers and gift cards. We'll talk about your buyer's protection, how to do a chargeback on your card and what they actually cover. And then finally, we'll have a few habits, or 4 habits here, to close out the lesson with. And it's good to remember this as well, that none of this makes shopping online slower. It just makes it your own experience, and it makes it safer for you. So stop 1 here. We're going to look at what a real storefront is versus a pop-up fake store. So fake stores are built to look convincing for exactly as long as it takes to take your money. So when you see a website you're not familiar with, you want to check the domain. So to go up there, when you actually navigate to the website, if you're actually going to go and look at the website, you're going to look for a normal, correctly spelled web address up in the address bar at the top, not a string of extra words or endings you don't recognize. It will typically be, whatever domain.com to actually go shop at. And you want to make sure that it looks like the actual business for it. You also want to see how long it's existed, and you can just do a quick search for that source name plus reviews or scam, and they'll often surface warnings within seconds. And you would do that by just doing copy and paste the actual URL into like Google, for example, or just search the name of the business that it shows up as. And that's going to tell you if it's a legit business or not. If people are getting fooled, you're going to find some information about it, some stories, some posts, whatever it might be. So we're going to check today with this visual if it's a real or a pop-up. So if you go to a known retailer, you go to walmart.com, well, these are well-known retailers. They have established names and they match real domains associated with that company. Target.com, Amazon.com, all those are established names of well-known retailers. They're legit. What about these 90% off ads you might see on the web, like on the internet, whether it be an ad in your email or something of that nature? Well, these are too good to be true situations. They might come from a brand new store or have some impossible discount associated with it. Hey, this is 90% off Chanel purse. These are impossible discounts because Chanel is not going to discount their purse for 90% off. They're just going to throw away their purses at the end of the year. That's the way they maintain their brand and the integrity of their value of their item. So they're going to just do these weird, crazy deploys that way, and they're not going to do 90% off of a Chanel purse or something of that nature. So be really mindful of that. Or it's a product that no one's ever heard of. These are all suspicious, So especially coming from a brand new store. So this is always bait to try to get your money. What about 100 5-star reviews? That sounds like a pretty cool product, right? Well, actually, 100 generic 5-star reviews usually posted within the same week with the same phrasing, like general phrasing such as, it was a great product, or this is amazing, whatever it might be. These are all generic phrasing and generic 5-star reviews, and these are a good classic indication of it being suspicious. These are things that a bot's made or they've scripted in there to make it look like it's a legit product, but it might not be. What if you see a few mixed reviews when you're online? If you're online, you see a few mixed reviews on the actual product. this is a good indication that it's actually a legit product. So you'll see some 3 stars, maybe even a 1 star in there, very few of a 1 star, but you'll see a few of those different reviews, because not every time everyone agrees about the same quality or the same aspects of the product. You'll actually get real product reviews from people with specific complaints, and that's normal. It's not a warning sign when you see actual, people saying they didn't enjoy one part of it or whatever it might be. So it's good to see mixed reviews when you're about to purchase something. What about paying by gift card? Well, you should know the answer to this one, and that's never pay by a gift card. If anyone only accepts a gift card, or if they only accept wire transfers, that's a huge red flag, because gift cards, they're untraceable and they're unreversible. Same with a wire transfer. Don't pay by a gift card. Now you're saying, what if you pay on Target and someone gives you a gift card and you pay on Target? Well, yeah, that's a legit thing. That actual gift card, you can pay with Target gift cards on Target. But guess the good thing about that is, when you're on Target, you don't have to purchase with the gift card. They're going to give you the option to pay with credit card, Apple Pay, PayPal, all these different pay providers when it comes to our processors. They're going to give you those options. They're not just going to make you say, hey, you can only pay with your Target gift card. That's always an option for payment on there. They're not making you. So if something's making you pay with gift card, that's a different whole telltale sign that it's a scam. Known processors. When you're actually checking out, you want to look for recognized processors at the end when you're in your cart and you're checking out. You want to look for buyer protection that comes along with that as well. You want to look for reputable names such as like Apple Pay and Google Pay, things of that nature, PayPal. You want to try to use those solutions. And my pro advice on it is, when I don't know the website and I'm not familiar with the website, I like to use third-party security or financial apps such as like PayPal to handle that charge, because I have like a middleman per se in the whole mix of it. Instead of them having my information for my credit card, PayPal goes and facilitates the charge for me. It doesn't cost me anything, but it's handled through PayPal when it comes to the actual charge. So it's a little bit of like cushion between that. But you want to look for recognized processors and buyer protection on it. Those are all good signs that it's an actual reputable business that you're going to purchase from. Stop two here are the too good to be true deals that you see every day. A real business, they have to cover their real costs. A price that's impossibly low usually means that the goods, the seller, or both aren't real. So when you see something that's such a good deal, you should really be thinking about it. Compare it. Compare, I always say, with 2 or 3 sites when you're actually purchasing something. And you want to look for reputable businesses such as Amazon, Walmart, Target. When you see all of them listing something at $40 and you see another company you never heard of at $10, you should probably understand that that's probably a scam. So compare it, And I always, if they're 3 companies are all within $1 or whatever, I just pick the one I enjoy more when I go through the actual purchasing, or faster. Maybe they ship it faster to me. So compare those. Don't look at the outliers. Don't look at the one that's too cheap. Don't look at the one that's super expensive. You look at the actual middle ground. You want to look to make sure the prices are similar in some element there. And then you got to be wary of urgency. It's always used as a pressure tactic when it even comes from phishing attempts, or even doing e-commerce or purchasing. You'll see these countdown timers that say only 2 left, or you got 30 seconds to purchase this. I see this all the time when I'm buying tickets for the movie theater. It says you got 15 minutes to purchase this, or it can go up back and someone else can purchase it. These are all pressure tactics to actually purchase something. So you don't have to go and do anything within the time period. You might lose out on a seat in the movie theater, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to purchase your ticket later. So don't feel like you have to do anything and anything's urgent. You can always come back to it. So and they're going to have more stock. They're not going to just sell out their stock and that's it. They're going to get more stock. So don't feel like you got to buy anything off the blue. So here's stop 3, and that's to read the reviews like a detective. So when you're looking on the website, look for specific details: fit, color, delivery time. You want to look at all the different things that people have talked about. You don't want to look for those. You want to look for the details. Watch the vague praises. Those are easy to fake. Hey, this was legit. They're like, this was a great item, or wonderful, things of that nature. Those are all vague praises about the items, and it's easy to fake those things. You want to look for specifics. You'll look and see a healthy mix of ratings, including a few 3 stars, and they're usually signaled by real customers. They'll say, I didn't really enjoy this, and they'll give it a 3 star. So that's all completely legit. So check the dates, and if you see a lot of 5 stars within the last week, that tells you that that site has just been open for 1 week, and that's a good way to be a scam artist right there. To see that, hey, this is very new site, so I should be very aware that could be a scam. Yeah, in other words. So these are all things you need to be looking at when you're looking and reading reviews on websites. Here's stop 4, and this is a big one. Pay the way that protects you. So wherever you try to pay, or whatever choice you choose when you're actually checking out, make sure that it protects you if something goes wrong. So credit cards or protected checkouts, they have real buyer protection in there, and you can always dispute a charge if the good never shows up. So use your credit card on that. Don't use your debit card. Use your credit card. Don't use a gift card. These are all things that you can get your money back if something doesn't show up. They're there to help you in that element. Never use gift cards or wire transfers. I cannot emphasize that enough. Never use your gift cards or wire transfers on like some sort of sketch website or whatever it might be. They're not going to ask you to pay just with your gift card. They're going to give you options on there. If you use a gift card, let's say to Target, Target's going to allow you to pay with all kinds of things, but they're also going to accept gift cards from Target and everything. But they're not going to make you pay with an actual gift card. That's a big red flag there. Stop 5 here, and that's know your buyer's protection. So most cards and major platforms already have those safety nets built in, and it's good to have that knowledge whenever something does happen and you are a victim of fraud or you never get your item. And that's, you can do a chargeback, which means that if something doesn't happen or doesn't get processed or you never receive your item, you can always get a refund on your actual the purchase on off your statement and everything. You can dispute it from your card provider. And then sometimes platforms give you a guarantee. Big companies like Amazon, Etsy, eBay, they offer you those buyer protection on top of the card. So it's always good to go through the actual marketplace and try to get it resolved that way before you actually do a chargeback, because chargeback is a very lengthy process to dispute something. So these are usually a little bit faster to get your actual money back, especially like Amazon. That's a super quick one to get your money back on, do that part. It's important to note that when you have a problem, you want to report that within your card's window for actually doing a dispute charge. And typically, you cannot dispute a charge until it's actually posted to your actual credit card account. If it's in pending, you usually cannot start the process until it's actually posted. But time is of the essence. You want to make sure you go on there and dispute it as soon as you can. But you typically have about 60 days or so, and you can actually go in there. But if you wait too long, after 60 days or something, you can actually forfeit the actual protection for the extra chargeback. It's too long for them to actually go back and try to get the product. But the best thing to do is reach out to the actual place you bought it, try to work with them, get some sort of resolution from them. If you don't hear back from them within like a week or two, then I would go ahead and do the chargeback on it and dispute it. If the item comes in and you've already done the charge and they didn't communicate with you, that's on the vendor. You can say, hey, if you want this back, I'll mail me the a return label or email it. I'll send it back in the mail, or most of the time they'll just let you keep it. But try to work with the actual company first before doing the chargeback. So these are the 4 habits that you can do to shop a little safe today. And that's, remember, double check a new store's domain. So when you're going to that new store, check it out. Double check that domain and see if it's a legit actual store before you purchase anything. Those too good to be true deals, just check it with 2 other sites to make sure it's an actual reasonable price or whatever it might be on it. If one company's saying it's $60 and another company's saying it's $55, and then the company you're looking at showing 15, that's that's a pretty good indication that it's probably a fake site, or they're going to get you on some shipping or handling charge later on. I like everything visible and easy to see. I don't like little things being added in at the end or whatever it might be and try to trick me. Pay by your card or protected checkout. Never gift card or wire transfer. That way, if something happens, you can always get it back, your money, when it comes to it. You can't get your gift card or any wire transfer. Once you send it, it's gone. So don't do that. Save your order confirmation emails. I don't know how many times when I purchase something, it says put your email in and we'll send you a copy of your order, and you never receive it, especially for small companies. My advice is when you purchase something, print out a confirmation email or the order confirmation before you leave your checkout, or save you a copy of the web page on your desktop, and that way when the item does arrive, you can just delete it. And if the item doesn't arrive, you'll need that to prove that you purchased the item on the card, or it'll give you an order number to do some sort of support with the company to try to figure out what's going on. So make sure you save your order confirmation email when you purchase the item. So here's a little reassurance you can have, and these are things you can actually stop worrying about when it comes to online shopping. A lot of people get scared when they're actually doing some online shopping, and here's a few things to kind of consider. Most online shopping stores, including the smaller ones, they're completely legitimate, and there's only a few bad actors there, and they don't represent the whole marketplace. There's millions of people that purchase online, and you can too. Just be kind of mindful of it when you're shopping online. Kind of look for these little things that you should be considering when you're looking at a company you never purchased from. You don't need to research every $10 purchase. Do you go in a grocery store and research every product that you think might be good? No, you take a little chance on it. You buy it or whatever, and if it's not bad, you're only out $10. So save the extra checking for anything that's like a little bit more expensive. If you buy something in hundreds or thousands of dollars, each one of those you should be doing more research in it. If you're buying something for $1,000, you should be doing a lot of research on it when you're purchasing online. My suggestion when you're getting in that realm is to try to do it in person, but that's just me, you know. But don't sweat it over a $10 purchase. You don't have to go and do 30 years of research to buy a $10 item or whatever. You know, if it comes in and it's not great or whatever, you tried, you know. But try to look at the reviews and then do as much as you can. It's not the end of the world if you lose $10. It is a bigger deal whenever you lose 100 or 1,000. So check on that one. A single bad review doesn't mean a scam. So if you see one bad review, doesn't mean something's off or whatever. It's more about the patterns of those reviews, like we discussed. You know, you want to make sure that something happened. You know, it looks all legit whenever you're looking at the actual comments and everything. If something does go wrong, remember you have real protection. Most purchases, as long as you're not doing it with a gift card or wire transfer, you can always recover that money back on your credit card or through the marketplace. So that's why we shop with these reputable companies, because they have your wants and need and their in mind when it comes to securing you and becoming a good dedicated customer for years to come. They'll take care of it, and if enough people complain about a store, they'll get rid of them off their marketplace. So it's always good. Key here is confidence, not fear, and these are a couple habits that do almost all the work for you. So just practice a few of these little habits for you when you're online shopping and everything. So here's some scripts and some things to be a little bit aware of when you're online shopping and or getting something from email. You'll get something that says, "Congratulations, you've been selected for a free item." Just cover the shipping. You know, just ignore these. Ignore these little like promotionals. These are ways that people are trying to get money from you. They'll say something like, "Enter your card details to claim an offer before it expires." Don't do that. If you see this, whatever, make sure you're doing it through reputable sites and you've done the research. Don't be just typing in your information so someone can take your credit card number. So you'll see something that says the shipping fee turns out to be several small recurring charges you never approved. So maybe you purchased something or whatever from a sketchy website, and now they're charging you monthly for something. You know, the first thing you should do is dispute it on your credit card provider and say, "Hey, you know, I never signed up for this," and they'll go ahead and dispute it and tell them, "If you can, let's go ahead and block this vendor or get you another card." You know, I tell people in class all the time that when I set up a credit card, I try to get one like a credit card provider that allows me to have multiple cards linked to the same account with different numbers, and that allows me to use multiple cards. I'll have my primary card, and if something happens to that card, I have a backup that ties to that actual account. So the numbers are different, but I can wait for the new one to be replaced. So if I get a credit card and something happens, I can go ahead and cancel that card, use my backup card, and then I'll get another backup card in the future after I've used my other one, if that makes sense. It's a little vague there, but I basically have three cards And I use one card primarily until something happens, and then I have a backup that takes its replace, and I just keep that cycle going. So that way I'm not out of a credit card against that account. Only thing I have to do is enter credit card numbers a little different. Now you're saying, what is that third card for? And I like to use a credit card, specifically for auto pay stuff. Your phone bill, your electricity, whatever. I like to use a card that's associated with the account just for auto pay, and that way I never have to change it if something happens with those cards. Those first two cards are only for purchases when I'm out and about. That's something I do, but you don't have to do that and everything. So it's good to kind of consider that when you're talking about shipping fees and everything. You know, if you get, you buy something and it's some cheap knockoff or you never receive it or whatever, you can always dispute it for those things. So be very, you know, be very mindful whenever you're looking at these too good to be true situations, and they're always that. They try to rush you and they try to make you think that it's such a great deal, you gotta do it now. So be really careful about the free gift scams when you go in your email and everything. So before next Tuesday, you can actually start practicing these. Look up a store you never ordered from, do a little research, get kind of a feel for it. You don't have to buy anything, just go through the process and see exactly what I'm talking about before you ever purchase it. Maybe you have a store you've been looking at and you want to kind of practice those. You can do that today. Check your card statements. After you purchase something from that site that you think might have been a little sketchy, go in there and see if there's any extra charges or anything on there. Be mindful of your card statement. You could always get a new card or whatever if something happens. And we're going to be talking in the next lessons about how to make unique card numbers when you're purchasing something, and we'll discuss that in future episodes. So make sure you sign up or subscribe to the channel and everything. That way you can get a notification when that one pops up. Save your order confirmations. Save those on your computer until that order actually shows up. You'll need those. Compare the three sites. That's a great habit to start doing. Look at the prices. Make sure they all look legit before you actually purchase something. You don't want to buy something that's too cheap, and you don't want to buy something that's too expensive. You want that middle ground. You want to make sure if three reputable, companies like Walmart, Amazon, and you say Target, if all of them are showing the same price, then that's a good indication that that's what the cost of that product should be. So be really mindful of the ones that are very cheap when it comes to that. So we got done with this one. Thanks for joining us on this one. We looked at spotting those pickpockets today and those fake sites out there. Next week, we're going to be talking about trading tokens, which are security tokens instead of your actual credit card. We'll talk about using tap to pay, which is like when you see people purchase with their phone, their Apple Watch, whatever it might be. Those are all using NFC, near field communication. It's a new standard to allow you to do purchasing where you have to be almost basically touching the actual receiver for it, so it's a little more secure. People can't spoof it or try to capture that process. We'll be talking about that next week if you're unsure how that works and how it's a little bit safer for you to actually purchase something out in the wild there. If you ever need any help with some of your technology, we're happy to help you with that. If you're purchasing items at a coffee shop, you should probably be doing that on a VPN. So make sure you're using a VPN if you're not on a trusted network, such as your home network, something of that nature. Make sure you're using a VPN. You can always go into your router and configure a few settings to be a little bit more secure. So if you ever need a little bit more advanced security on your router, which is a strong move, you can always reach out to us. We're happy to help you for that, just to make it a little safer when you're navigating on the internet. So congratulations once more. You just got a little bit more resilient when it comes to pickpocket when online shopping these days. So make sure you check those domains, compare the prices, pay the safe way, and that's the real protection that you're going to be receiving on online shopping these days. And it barely will slow you down when it comes to it. You'll be checking those domains, comparing it between a couple vendors, and then you'll protect it. So never pay by gift card or wire. That's an important thing to do. Thanks for joining us, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We've got a couple more for the series, and I think the next two are the most important, or the most, if you haven't used these more advanced features of your providers, you should probably definitely do that. So make sure you're liking, comment, and subscribing so you get notifications on all that. So thanks for joining, and have a great day.